Hello and welcome back to the Nordic Championship here at the Monster Energy DreamHack Studios. We just had Team Singularity taking on Vipers and getting himself yet another win on the board, putting himself firmly in that first place spot for now anyway. It was a very, very good game, actually. You look at Rai, he performed exceptionally well on the Vayne. And when I saw the Vayne lock in, I was like, ooh, that's a little ballsy. But he made it work, man.
I feel like that's the first game where he's been the obvious MVP for them. I think, obviously, Nilly's had some pop-up performances. Scoot has as well. Krogson in their match against Nordic. But I think here, that was a game where Rai really put his name down and said, look, this is my game to carry, and he did. So,
yeah,
a lot of praise towards him.
Yeah, fantastic game by them. But let's move on to our next matchup of the day. It's going to be Hybrid taking on Dusty. Both of these teams locked at 2-3 in the standings, so tied in that third, kind of all the way down to the bottom point at the moment. And the winner of this will obviously put themselves ahead, and then the next game we're also on the same scoreline. So it starts to iron out this kind of middle of the pack, which is so undefined at the moment. Yeah. It's very loose who actually is a bottom team and who is a middle team, just because so many teams are locked in at the same score.
Yeah, and I think this matchup's interesting because both of them a lot of potential, but not quite hitting the mark here. For Dusty, their draft yesterday was scattered. There wasn't really much synergy between the champions, and it felt like it would be hard for any team to win on the back of that draft that they came out with.
Yeah.
Especially when Quinston's had a very rough game in the top lane on the rise, which is a bit uncharacteristic for him because normally he's been a strong performer. And then the side of Hybrid, it just felt like they drafted a poke composition. The enemy team had a lot of good engage tools, and it felt like they struggled to implement one of the compositions that typically is harder to play. You know, when you compare poke to like of engage or just team fight, it's a bit tricky to pull off, and they definitely struggled with that one. It's an opportunity going into a fresh draft. Hybrid potentially drafts themselves something easier. Dusty with a bit more coordination. And this, I expect to see a pretty close matchup between these two.
Yeah, definitely do. But let's have a little look at what's been banned so far. The Cassiopeia, the Kiana, the Leona, and the Philios have all been banned away. And we're going to see what Dusty round out their bans with. Typically, we've been seeing Kiana as a red side ban, but in this game, Dusty don't want to even risk it as something. So that's going to be a Jarvan takeaway here by Dusty. Pretty standard jungler ban.
Yeah, and I think it's something that Yike was using a lot, especially when in tandem with Kakan and the Gangplank, Friskan and the Ziggs. A lot of threat to the immobile carries. Interesting, they've heavily targeted the bot lane from Hybrid here. The Leona is something we saw a lot from only 35. The Tom, less so, but offers an element of safety to those mobile carries. I think the interesting thing is that in the past 2 games, only 35 has lent away from these melee supports, going more, you know, he played the Karma, I believe, and the Zillion into melee supports, basically just giving them a massive lane advantage. But ultimately, first up, we're going to get the Syndra, which is not too surprising for Dusty. Flexibility in that, but also a lot of power in the mid lane. Allegiance has shown he can be a monster on that. And Hybrid answer with Desire-a-Con. So a lot of flexibility between those, it's not flexibility, sorry, a lot of strength between those two picks in the bot lane. Engage potential is very real, and then even from level 1, you can apply a lot of pressure. Dusty deliberating on what they're going to take. Looks like Joachim just going to go for the Lee Sin, and then Thresh very quickly coming in as an answer. I feel like this could potentially set up for a Syndra in the bot lane, and the reason being is one of the big concerns when we saw a lot of Syndra last year, particularly in EU Masters, was her immobility. And so when you're playing up against teams who are looking to hard engage, a little bit concerning, and Thresh offers that element of safety. You have a ton of CC to lock down someone like Axis on this Rakan, but you also have a lot of safety offered to your mobile carry. And we quickly see it rounded out with a Sejuani for Yike. Something that did get buffed on this patch with regards to its clear because of the attack speed at level 1. But also a little bit more vulnerable if you find it clearing camps, because her passive, the Frost Armor, does get broken by large monsters. So it would be a little bit more vulnerable. But overall, a lot of team fighting tools are ready for Hybrid, a good front line, and then one of those great backline DPSs. But Dusty have quite a bit of early tools to set the pace rolling of the game. And getting into the next stage of bans, we've seen the Yorick and the Aatrox so far. So targeting these top laners, only going to be denied away, potentially a flex, but likely seen in the top lane is what typically we've seen so far. And now for Dusty, Gangplank is an option to deny from Kakan. Set is still open and available. A lot of still options on the table.
One more ban here for Dusty. So already, I'm really liking what Hybrid have been able to draft here. That is going to be a Gangplank. That would have been a really nice pick as well, potentially, for them to kind of layer on top of the ultimate from the Sejuani. You've got the Glacial Prison. You've got the AoE damage they're going to be able to put down. Priskanet goes back to something we know he likes to play. The Ziggs, again, works very well with what Hybrid have already drafted. And we say it time and time and time again, but ease of execution seems to be a very defining factor of who wins games here in the Nordic Championship. And Hybrid, they have put together a very solid team fighting comp.
Yeah, and I think the thing is, it's front to back. You have your beefy front line with a ton of CC. You have your back line just able to layer out damage. Well, you see a pick coming here, which we thought the Thresh indicated the Syndra's going bot lane. This Diana almost makes it a certainty.
Yeah.
Potentially allowing them to threaten Priskanet and the Ziggs with the engage potential. If they do lock in this Akali, this is a ton of dive. I don't think it's going to come through, though, because they get nerfed heavily on this patch. We are on 10.3.
Yeah, blind picking Akali top lane would be very, very over-eager.
I think she's kind of really got hit hard by the nerf bat at the moment. Mainly the energy nerfs as well to a Q. It's not just the lack of safety on her ult. But Camille going to come in for Quinston's, again offering a split push win condition for him in the later stages. Now it's for Hybrid to answer. A lot of top lane has been taken off the table, and you want something that can answer the Camille. Although with the Hybrid's composition so far, you don't want to invest too heavily into the side lane, which Camille does win inevitably into most matchups. So I think you just want to take something that functions well, like the Mordekaiser. It's decent at holding in the 1v1, but it still functions well in team fights. If you can ult the Lee Sin when he dashes in for a kick, denies a lot of the engage potential for Dusty, or potentially Diana as well to stop her ult from coming through. Overall, I think Hybrid have a more structured sort of composition.
Yeah.
But less tools in the early game, I think, is the big factor to talk about. You have the Lee Sin and the Diana. If you find priority in mid lane, you can just roam about and look for Yike and kill him. You can also threaten Priskanet. You have the Syndra Thresh, which has a lot of burst potential between them if you land that CC. And then if things don't go perfectly to plan, or even if they do, in the later stages, you have Quinston's in the side lane to offer that level of threat. And if you are ahead, Dusty can force Hybrid to face check into them. But on the other side, we have Priskanet and the Ziggs as a reliable source of wave clear. And that's one of the big things. If you're going to pick elements of scaling, which Hybrid definitely have quite a bit of, you need mid laners with priority.
Yeah.
You can't just pick like a Vladimir mid laner into a blind matchup and just expect to be able to let your jungler farm up into the late game. But Ziggs offers that ability to shove in. You can assist the side waves with that ultimate. I feel like if they were able to get the gangplank, they would have been in an even better state to stall out the game. But for the most part, it sets them up pretty well. It also means that Hybrid aren't just going to sit back. They can play around the bot lane, Zyra Khan. And Mordekaiser is one of the best weak side champions. And the reason being, he has pretty good wave clear if you combo your abilities together to just quickly clear it out. You have a shield, which makes it hard to dive. But ultimately, once you hit level 6, you have that ultimate available. So if they try and make a 3v1 dive, he can turn it into a 1v1, much harder to pull off.
And I'm also looking at like who you can set up here for Yike on the Sejuani, because obviously Sejuani ganks very well into melee champions. Mordekaiser is the only real melee champion you can use here.
The only melee champion.
Yeah, true. Rakan is ranged actually, even though it's very low range, he technically counts. So the only lane you can really use for the permafrost is going to be that Mordekaiser. So you could maybe see Yike look for some early ganks onto Coincidence, put him behind, because we know if Coincidence gets ahead, he's an absolute nuisance. Yeah. And if, Kakan gets 1 or 2 kills, he should just be confident to go up versus Coincidence and, be under very little threat.
Big thing to remember, 10% bonus attack speed now at level 1. That was on patch 10.3. So Sejuani a little bit better at stacking up her own passive.
Yep.
But ultimately, as you said, not many targets to help stack it up. So it's going to be Sejuani. If she does want to put some attention top to punish Coincidence, that'd be okay, especially as a counter gank. But for the most part, I would like to see them try and lean on this bot lane. If they can burn a flash from only 35 early on this Thresh, then he becomes a vulnerable target. But it is tricky because you have a lot of peel tools from both the bot lane mage and Syndra and the Thresh. And even if you burn Hoyz's flash, there's the Lantern as an escape. So can be a little bit tricky. I think in the early game, Dusty should be looking to apply a lot of pressure and come out with the advantage. If they miss the mark, that's where Hybrid can fly in and come out as the victors.
Alrighty, well, we are just having a quick pause. Hopefully it won't be too long. It already looks like Joachim has been able to reconnect, so shouldn't be too long before we get back into the game. I'm just excited to see how this team comp's going to go out, because you look at like what Hybrid have drafted here. I'm really excited just to get to the team fights, to be honest with you, because it's a pretty filthy team fight composition, especially when suddenly you think you got the 5 versus 5 and it's a 4 versus 4 because like Legions gets pulled out of the fight before he can actually jump onto Mervs and
or after he jumps. I mean, Mordecai is surprisingly, I mean, he's great at singling out enemy carries, but he's also extremely good at stopping divers.
Yeah.
Because you just pull them away. It also makes your objective control really good because it's very hard to face check into the Ziggs, bouncing bombs, or the minefield. But on top of that, if you try and contest and steal a Dragon or a Baron, then potentially there's the ult from Kakan just to stop you from being able to smite it.
Well, we are on to the Rift for game number 3 of week 3 here at the Nordic Championships. Another game where teams are tied. And we're starting to even out the land we're on as far as the ladder, as far as the scoreboard is concerned. Who will pull ahead?
30 seconds until minions.
I think it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. There is a strategy at the moment where a scaling team looks to contest early dragons. And because obviously, in terms of setting up the pace of a game, Herald is more important. So if you find an opportunity to trade pressure, get the dragons instead, or even just sneak an early dragon, it delays the soul by a significant amount of time for the aggressive team. So Dusty, if they pick up dragons as like on timer, the fastest they can get theirs is the 20-minute mark.
Yeah.
But obviously, if you take away a couple of dragons, if you manage to get 2, say, for Hybrid, that delays it to 30 minutes. Which by that point, Hybrid much more confident to start taking fights and deny them themselves. So if Hybrid are able to get an early dragon, it can be a big asset to ensure they're scaling. But they definitely don't want to throw the game over a fight for that dragon. It's more if the opportunity arises, if Dusty are too set on the other side of the map, potentially looking at Herald, or otherwise, there is that opportunity. For now, though, see both junglers starting on the reds. We'd like to see Yike. Well, I like to see Yike in this position because he can path towards bot side, which is where I think is the pivotal lane to play around for Hybrid's early game. There's Zyra Khan. For Joachim, though, it does set him up if he wants to put attention towards either of his solo laners. There is the potential to do so on the back of this Lee Sin. We've seen Priskanet pretty formidable on this Ziggs, hard to really punish on this champion with a lot of wave clear and the safety of the satchel charge. And if you get buffed, the AP ratio got buffed, so it does quite a bit of damage. And then on top of that, also the knockback actually got changed, so it knocks back people even further. So against a team like this with a lot of divers, really effective tool. And Legion's doing what Legion's does and looking for a potential freeze here. That is very standard play from him. Really good at lane management and looking to do that. And that means Priskanet in an uncomfortable position. So if you actually look at the position he's in now, he's really leaning towards his bot side. And that's because he knows where his jungler is and he wants to stay safe. But he's so scared of a gank coming in from Joachim. He's actually leaning towards the top side now, so ignore it. Just disregarding that. But it puts him in a vulnerable spot, and Lee Sin, if he was there, that could have been a kill. And that's why he's so scared. He doesn't even trade back with Legions there. He just runs. He does not want the lane to be in this position for long. Unfortunately, unable to shove it in right now. Kakan, though, he as well is overextended, and they're looking for the setup here.
Yeah, they got that hook shot on already. Kakan tries to pull him back with a claw. He's flashed away. He's going to be healing up a little bit with the passive, and that Conqueror shields are going to get procced. Yike moves into the mid lane, takes this opportunity to reset that wave that Legions had set up for himself, and now Priskanet should be able to get away, get himself a nice base off, and feel pretty comfortable.
Yeah, so seeing the situation where Joachim's ganked top, you know there's a window where you can help shove that wave in mid without risk of a counter gank coming in. I mean, it wasn't a gank from Yike, so it wouldn't be a counter gank.
It was a gank on the minions.
Yeah, exactly. But there's no counter coming in from Joachim because you've seen him top lane. But the cost of this is that Kakan loses his flash. So you can see now his position in lane. He's really, really cautious to step up. Skullcab picked up by the top lane, giving them some cover. But if you look here, so his wave is pushing in, and he's so scared to walk up because it's very easy for Camille to set up ganks. That's why she was such a menace when she was playing the jungle. Because if that hook shot comes out, means that you are essentially, you can be engaged on from such a long range and stunned. And Khan, he wants his wave shoved in so it can bounce back as much as possible. He is now comfortable to step up because Yike is nearby. The skirmishing power of this 2v2 is extremely good because both of them quite bulky and can also set up the passive of Sejuani. You can see Joachim's looking over here.
They're going in for it. Passive's been used. They've thrown that kick out, holding the claw for the moment, stacking up the permafrost stacks. And that forces Coincidence to flash now. It's Kakan flashless, Coincidence flashless. Both these top laners already had pretty successful ganks against them. It's cost them a summoner spell.
Yeah, it's a little less punishing for the Camille because she has her own form of escape. But this is definitely a really smart move from Yike and Kakan, coordinating to look for that play. And knowing the wave was in a bad spot for Kakan, they expected Joachim to act on that. He did, and it ends up punishing Coincidence there because he looked for the engage and ends up paying for it. Reset's going to come in from the bot lane here. Nothing too crazy happened down there so far, but Legion's consistently applying pressure to the Ziggs. Priskanet not having too much of a fun time.
Yeah, once Priskanet's got the Luden's Echo, this lane goes a little bit different because he can very effectively clear the wave out from a long distance, which means Legions shouldn't really be afforded the opportunity to get onto the Ziggs. Obviously, post-6, if Legions can get onto Priskanet, he's dead.
Especially with Joachim.
Especially with Joachim.
But I think at that point, Priskanet, it becomes a very non-interactive lane. And by that, I mean, Priskanet just throws his bombs at the wave. He doesn't even try and touch Legions. Legions doesn't try and touch him. Maybe throw a little bit of poke out. But for the most part, they're just wave clearing. And there's no chance for an all-in because Priskanet can just clear the wave at miles away. But for now, definitely a little bit rougher. Just getting through this tough aspect. And so far, it's been pretty slow in the early game. Just as level 6 has been hit by our solo laners, this definitely favors that Hybrid. And this was that early dragon I was talking about. If you see an opportunity for it and Hybrid can get it, delays the soul for Dusty. But Dusty aren't looking to give this one away for free and not challenging. There is priority for the bot lane of Hybrid, so they're comfortable to move up.
Yeah, Axis is there with Yike to make sure they can get this, but look at Legions. He's got the priority in his lane. Priskanet now has the bomb and only gets jumped onto. They're going to put some damage into him already. It's Mervs. He's getting chunked out by Joachim. Joachim only just hit that level 6 mark. The health bars are already very, very low for Hybrid, and they are just moments away from getting a massive amount of gold. First blood gifted over to Joachim. Ike is now going to fail the Arctic Assault. He has to flash away. Legions, one more Lunar Rush to get it. Can't find himself the Crescent Slash. Can't find himself the Sonic Strike. And Yike almost dies.
So I talked a lot about getting the dragon if an opportunity arises. That was a clear indication when only 35 is walking up to you and getting in your face that this is not that said opportunity. And they should have backed off. They should have respected that Dusty are going to win out in that skirmish. They didn't. And the end result is they lose a member and a ton of summoner spells. If you look across the Hybrid, Yike, Priskanet, and Mervs all without flashes. And yes, quite a few were burned from Dusty. But when you're looking at the vulnerability of the Ziggs, of the Xayah, and the fact that Dusty are wanting to be the aggressors, it's not a good spot to be in. So just a miscalculation, an overcommit for that Drake to try and ensure their stalling has essentially backfired, rubber banded, because not only do they lose the Drake, they also end up giving a lot of control and gold over to Dusty.
Well, they both burnt heal as well from those in Priskanet. Priskanet now hasn't even been able to finish up this lost chapter on this base, so he is in a very, very rough spot as Legion's able to push the wave in, look for a potential base for himself. Curious to see what Legion's opts into as his build here, because we've seen some people going for the rower, so you have a bit kind of like a health factor to you, some survivability, but he could just go for like a Ludens here if he really wants to, because Priskanet's really not challenging him at the moment.
Yeah, I think you want to be a little bit bulky up against this team, because otherwise you'll just get dismantled by the front line, and any amount of feathers or you know, the Hextech minefield will just blow you up. And you see Hybrid have gone for a swap here, so want to have their strong side towards the Herald. Now, what's actually come through is Hoyes stayed. He actually TP'd bot to catch that wave. And if he is resetting towards top side, it's going to be a little bit slow. This isn't too much of an issue for Dusty, because Hybrid aren't going to be the aggressors in this situation. You can see Yike, he's clearing through his bot side jungle. They're not going to start up the Herald, but this means the pace is a little bit slower. So every time Dusty do something like this, so Hoyes loses, say, 30 seconds because he TP's bot for the wave, then goes top, all that time is just adding to Hybrid scaling, adding to them getting to the point where they're like, okay, we feel comfortable, we can start contesting these objectives and just win the fight. But for now, they're going to put some vision down towards that Herald. If it is started up by Dusty, they could definitely try poke them out, especially as Priskanet now has the blue. For the most part, it's just being a little defensive when Dusty are the ones who need to sort of be setting the pace of the game.
Well, Dusty now got Coincidence in this bot lane. They've finally rotated their bot side up to top side. And looks like No one is looking to contest this dragon quite yet. Sorry, this herald quite yet. Both the teams do have vision down there. They're aware of it. Merbs just got himself the BF sword at the moment, so not quite insanely strong yet. Priskinet's still sitting on components of his Lost Chapter, but again, hasn't been able to finish that up, so doesn't have that cooldown reduction, doesn't have that extra mana regen to work with in lane, but obviously, with the fact that he's got his blue buff, should be pretty comfortable. So looking for Axis here. Axis, sorry, is looking for him. Rose ambitious. The quickness,
so
but
very ambitious, that play. Just kind of threw a little bit of everything. And those are two big ults down, and you can see the pings coming out. Dusty essentially saying, okay, this is our go time. We're just going to start up the Herald, or at least gain control of the area, because without the Glacial Prison and the quickness, it's a lot weaker.
ooh, Axis takes the hook there, and Merbs feels confident to step up. Lantern means that Hoyes is nice and safe. This is why the Fresh pairs so well with that Syndra. The Syndra naturally lacking a lot of mobility. Has extra mobility, but speaking of which, speaking of lacking anything, Priskinet will be lacking his life as he falls for a second time. Legions takes him down.
Yeah, a little bit over-aggressive from Priskinet there, but it was a good move coming out from Joachim to threaten him. And really, as we said, no flash on the Ziggs, and this is where it ends up getting punished. And Priskinet has done well in previous games on the Ziggs to withstand pressure in the mid lane. But so far, he's down 0-2, and up against the melee mid lane, Legion's ahead in farm, even though it's only slightly, but Dusty doing a lot to sort of enact their pressure in the mid lane. But other than that, things haven't really set a fast pace for this game. They're 1,000 up in gold, but Herald still up and available. Dragon now spawning in about a minute, though. And you see Hoyes going for a reset here, and but actually going to get cancelled in that situation. He's too low on mana to really contribute anything to his team. But I think they don't want to potentially give up plates towards the side of Hybrid.
Yeah, the last thing you want to do is let this Xayah start getting really, really far ahead. We'll be able to run away with the game. They do get themselves a nice base off here.
That's a power Xayah
Only looks to try and cancel it.
Power Xayah Rakan, you get fast reset timings because the AD carry can finish shoving and then join the Rakan on the reset. And this means they're going to be ahead in tempo compared to Dusty. They're going to get to where they want to be first, which right now is that Dragon Pit. You can see them swapping down towards there. Now, Dusty have two options. They can attempt to match them on the bot side. They'll have less vision control going in because they're slower. Or alternatively, they can try trade on the other side of the map. And you can see pings coming out. They've opted for the second option. They're going straight towards that Herald. And in terms of pace of the game, Herald is better at speeding it up because you can take down towers, take down plates, gets that extra gold. Hybrid, they want the Dragon because that slows Dusty down. It denies that soul for longer. It means there's less of a threat of them ramping up to that, and potentially means later on in the game when a Dragon is a contention point, they can go, we don't need it. We're still got space for the soul. The Herald's been picked up. You can see the bot lane of Hybrid rushing up towards top lane to try and protect this tower, but they're going to be a little bit slow because only 35 in Legions kind of warded them off, and that means Herald's going to get thrown down. They're going to be able to funnel a lot of gold onto this Syndra. Joachim's going to step up, take and share some himself, but they end up getting 4 plates here. They won't be able to get the tower in time, but definitely chunking this one out heavily and doing a lot of work. So
yeah, there's a lot of gold onto the Syndra.
They pushed the gold lead from 1,000 to 2,000. They've got that tower low so they can threaten it later on. Dusty definitely doing what they want to do, but I respect the decision from Hybrid to balance out on the other side of the map.
All right, well, we're approaching that 15-minute mark slowly but surely. Game has definitely been a slower pace for our first two of the day. Take stock of where everybody's at. Priskinet now with that Lost Chapter has the Sork boots as well, so he has a little bit extra penetration to work with. He's pretty much at the point now where he should be able to just stand away at distance from the wave and clear it with relative ease. Once he gets the Ludens, that's when that's fully a factor, but he has enough base AP at this point to be able to not get too close to the wave and rely on these autos to clear out the waves. Legions has now finished up his rower. He's got 2 stacks on that, had it for 2 minutes. And everybody else just sitting on components currently, looking to finish up their items.
That's some quick maths. He's had it for 2 minutes because he's got 2 stacks. Wow. Who'd have thought? See, Quinston's picked up that Ravenous Hydra for the full thing already. And this favors more split pushing because you're going to be able to heal up from the wave and basically outmatch Kakan in terms of sustain. But means you're not going to be as capable of landing that burst. So not really in a position you want to join a team fight here because you don't have that Triforce proc just to blow someone up who's a squishy.
Hybrid might just lose first turret blood here. Coincidence is only just getting down the steps on the base now.
You mean Kakan?
Sorry, Kakan. Coincidence is actually going for war, so he's not going for the hard shove yet, so actually they should hold.
Yeah.
That could have been first turret blood to them. It could have been very dangerous.
Yeah, I think he's respecting it though, because Mordekaiser's not like one of those champions you can just ignore on a tower. It can definitely threaten. You can't just expect him to... You can't just ignore him, especially not at this point for the Camille. You see both teams moving their bot lanes down towards the bot side. It's still 2.5 minutes till this dragon's up. You can see the extra brushes on Ocean Soul, going to make it even more difficult to contest his vision. Speaking of vision, a lack of it.
Jumping on, they use the ultimate. He's going to go up with a Feather Storm for the moment, try to flash away. The Glacial Fissure will pin him in place, and a bomb comes down. It won't find its mark, but he is running towards his team. Joachim is able to get out, and first turret blood is spent. Kakan teleported into the fray, and nothing is found for Hybrid in return.
Nothing found, and critically, the dragon not even available. Only 35.
He was having a dance, and a bomb still missed him.
Yeah, I think trying to predict the movement ends up backfiring. Legion's going to come in and pick up this wave. The tower went down top lane. Quinston's getting a lot of gold from that. He is looking for a flank here, but won't find anything. I think the critical thing is the fact the dragon wasn't up. They didn't have waves in position to take bot tower, and they didn't even get any kills. So Hybrid investing a lot to get essentially nothing.
The stopwatch from Joachim bought so much space for his team to be able to disengage there. Gave time for Only to get close enough to lantern him out. And Hybrid, they just completely bit the bullet there. Losing out heavily as Coincidence is now going to remain in the top lane versus Merbs to clear it out.
Yeah, it's not a great situation to have your Xayah going up against the Camille in the side lane. But essentially, it wasn't going to go for Xayah's Coincidence because you don't know who's waiting in the wings. And now Kakan can go topside, and they can keep their bot lane towards the dragon. But I think this is one of the ones you give up. We talked about how Hybrid getting a dragon early, it's nice to sort of mean you don't have to contest as many.
Yeah.
This is not one you want to contest. Quinston's has TP. If he joins, it's a 5v4. Merbs has no flash.
They're looking for Legions potentially here. Pings are coming out. Lots of members heading down. The bomb will throw down to clear out the wave. Legions will take a little bit of damage there, but he's able to disengage nice and early. And now Priskanet has no ultimate, and he's going to be sitting in that wave. Legions could just jump on the Merbs. Merbs just about to get that Feather Storm back, though, so it would be very dangerous to go for him there. Yike doing his best to try and clear out some of this vision and get control around the Baron pit, because Dusty, they know that maybe Hybrid aren't going to contest it, and they want to take it for free, but actually, they're going to let the CC this time. Merbs is able to find the kill, and now Joachim misses out on that Sonic Strike. It's a 3 versus 3. A lot of those ultimates have already been used by Hybrid, however, so Dusty able to get away nice and free.
And this is a window. Oh, looks like we have a pause, so Merbs is unfortunately disconnected, but talking about what just happened there, so this is actually a window where Hybrid can actually take the dragon. So Legions has no TP. He TP'd bot earlier to protect the tower. He's dead, obviously, for quite a bit of time. And on the minimap, obviously you can't see it now, but Quinston's was roaming down, as was Kakan. And Quinston's was ahead of him, but the critical thing is that it means... Actually, I believe, just looking at the summoners, Quinston's tried to TP bot there, and it got cancelled.
Oh, it must have got cancelled by Kakan.
Yeah, so the TP advantage has been removed, so Quinston's is now trying to roam down, and it means that it's going to be a 5v4 in favor of Hybrid, which is a pretty important thing. So, yeah, Death's Grasp.
There we go. I was trying to remember the name of it. I had to look it up on my computer there.
Death's Grasp used to cancel the TP, and that means both top laners roaming down to contest this dragon. And without Legions, I feel like this favors Hybrid, but they are down some big ultimates, which means if Dusty want to contest as a window,
yeah,
again, losing this dragon wouldn't be the end of the world. It just delays things. It delays how quickly you can pressure the soul. And that's the big thing, is that a lot of teams don't even need to take the soul. It's the prospect of forcing the other team to fight you on your terms. And it's an objective that's less threatening than Baron, because Baron, it deals a lot of damage to your team, especially when you look at the roster of Dusty. They don't have a great tank just to endure that damage, that brunt. And it's a lot slower to take down. So it means if they get control of the dragon area later on, Hybrid have to face check into it, potentially get engaged on and go down. And I think that's why it's pretty important that they pick up these dragons, even if they don't necessarily end up getting the soul at any later points. I do feel like the soul pretty big if Hybrid can end up getting it. because obviously they have this beefy front line with the Sejuani and the Mordekaiser, who would love that soul, and then also the mana regen for the Ziggs. Pretty big aspects, but definitely not bad on Dusty either.
Hopefully, it looks like Mervs will be coming back soon, I'm hoping. So we'll just have to keep going until then. But I want to take stock of where we're on under the items at this point, the gold at this point. It's a 3k gold lead, well, more like a 2k gold lead at this point over to Dusty. And that is resulting in some fairly big item spikes. Like I hit on Legions. Now got 6 stacks on that rower, building towards that Nash's Tooth, got the Stingers and the Amptome. Priskanet sitting on the gold for his Luden's Echo. He's got 1,300 gold, but he hasn't actually been to base to buy it yet. So he needs to, he wants to do that as soon as possible. Merbs just on that Essence Reaver, building towards what will probably be an Infinity Edge as his next item, as he is closing in on that.
I got the Rapid Fire as well.
Potentially Rapid Fire, yeah.
Or even the PD if you just want to play defensive, but I think Rapid Fire is probably the better one in this situation. Yeah, overall, at the moment, it's an awkward time to pause because we've just seen that pick. We're about to see a team fight breakout likely for Dragon, or at least Hybrid forcing their way with it. But yeah, just unfortunately. I mean, actually, fortunately for Hybrid, the DC came in after Legions can die.
Yeah.
So you imagine if they went for that engage, and then Merbs was just standing still, and you're like, Merbs, what are you doing?
Yeah, Merbs even got that kill as well. So last thing he did before he went out was get a kill, which is good for him.
Yeah, if someone else had gotten the
it's something
kill,
to do with the storm that's been going on.
if someone else had gotten the kill, I would have been like, I get it. He rage quit because he got hit.
Yeah.
But yeah, ultimately,
He was so happy that they finally killed Legions that he accidentally ult F4'd.
he was like, game's over. I'm
Yeah,
out.
I've done my job.
Yeah.
Bit like scrims. It's like, oh, we got first blood. Don't worry, next game.
Yeah, go
Is that how it works? I've never done a scrim, funnily enough.
Yeah, so it depends. It depends the team you're facing. But there are definitely some where like it's not even first blood. It's like you have an invade level 1, and a team gets 3 kills, and they're like, oh, it's over. Just GG.
What is like? Talk to me about scrim etiquette while we got some time. What is like considered? What is considered rude?
So things that are done frequently and also considered rude. Being late.
I've seen enough coaches complain on Twitter about that. Yeah.
Also, so normally scrims are done in either blocks of 3 or blocks of 5. Teams will just, after 2 games, just be like, yeah, we're done.
Mental shattered.
Yeah, or like they'll go 2-0 up, 2-0 down. They'll be like, this isn't really that valuable anymore. Or the players will tilt or something. They'll be like, okay, yeah, we're done. It's like, cool, we booked in a block of 3, but you're going, so thanks. There's also just cancelling last minute.
I've seen enough coaches complain about that.
Yeah, you see it, like, it's like you have a 5-game block booked in, last second, you're about to go in, all your players are ready, and they're like, oh yeah, sorry, we can't do it. Double booking, which is what some people do to counteract the cancelling thing, which is really, really not, it's really snaky.
Well, because it basically makes you cancel.
Yeah, so they'll book 2 teams, a better one and like a not so good one as the backup. And then basically they'll cancel with a not so good one. But it just guarantees that if the better one... And that one's rarer. Not as many teams do that, but they definitely do. And I know when you do it. I mean, I'm not in scrims anymore, but you know, it's really harsh to do to the other team. It's basically valuing your own practice over everyone else's, which
Yeah.
I know you do, but it's like the whole point of scrims is mutual practice, and it's about establishing good scrim partners. And obviously, if you're reliable, if you show up on time, if you play well to a consistent level, you're not tilting, you're not demanding remakes, then you will end up getting consistent scrim partners, which can be a good match for you, because the ideal situation when you're scrimming is you find a team. So I know, like, talking about the UK scene here, XL and Fnatic were the big ones. So ideally for either of those, you want to find a team who are reliable, but also similar to your rival.
Yeah.
Obviously, within the likes of the Nordic Championship, where it's a bit more free flowing, there's a lot of teams who are close to each other. Having a variety of scrim partners is good. It's always good. But if you can find, like, imagine Fnatic and G2. If you find like a G2S scrim partner, which is difficult, I can tell you that. But then it gives you practice against the team that you're aiming to beat. So that's always a nice element to it.
Wicked. Well, thanks for the update on how scrims work there, Orcs. That's you flexing a little bit of your ex-pro career.
Did you know I used to be a player?
Anyway, we're going to go to a quick break while we wait for this to get ironed out. We'll see you in a second. Hopefully this will be sorted. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in it shortly. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Nordic Championships. Now, unfortunately, Merbs hasn't been able to reconnect to this game. We think there's been a power outage and there's been no way to contact him as a player, unfortunately. So what this means is, at the moment, we're up in the air on what the decision will be. As soon as I know the definites, we'll inform you guys at home. But at the moment, it's looking like it's probably just going to be a forfeit, unfortunately, for the side of Hybrid, which is not a situation either team really wants it to be. You know, Dusty, they would want to earn the victory through actually winning the game. And, you know, for Hybrid, it feels really, really unfun, especially after you get yourself your first kill of the game on the person who DCs.
Yeah.
There are potentially an options for a remake, but if that happens, it will most likely take place off stream. And again, it kind of falls down to the admins and the players and the orgs to decide exactly where we're going to fall on that. So once we know exactly what's happening, we will inform you. But at the moment, it looks like this game 3 is going to be cancelled here, unfortunately. And we'll try to get into game 4 of our last game of the day as quick as possible.
Yeah, so a really unfortunate situation for both sides. Dusty, obviously, they get the win, but they don't want to win in this manner, although could potentially see some system sorted out as a result of this. But we don't know that information right now. And for now, we'll just be looking towards like game 4. So there's nothing else we really can say about it.
It's unfortunate. You can't really break down what happened last game because, unfortunately, the game only went on for 17 and a half minutes.
What I will say is at the point the game was in, it was looking pretty close. I think that Hybrid were down, but definitely had scaling advantages. Both teams could have taken that one from where it was. And unfortunately, we don't get to see the end result.
Yeah, unfortunately, we do not. So let's have a little talk about our next game, just so we can get ourselves set up for that. It's going to be Orlando versus Hillerod. Again, these teams are both in the same position as Dusty and Hybrid, 2 and 3 in the standings. So this is our 4 teams who are all kind of blocked together. Orlando and Hillerod, how are we looking at this? What are we thinking about this game?
So both these teams started the split off really rough and were the teams who were latest to get a win on the table, but they are on the upswing. For Hillerod, we've seen mostly Sloth playing around these melee mid laners, a lot of aggression. We did see him bring out that Corky, but in the most recent game, basically played a team fighting comp that played itself, and it was just really easy for them to facilitate. And I feel like Orlando have gone a similar direction. This is what we've been talking about with the ease of execution. Both these teams who are struggling, they start to pick these great front-to-back team fight compositions, easy engage options, easy coordination, and strong carries in the back line, and both of them have started to find some success. So yes, I expect them to come in potentially with similar-looking compositions in this next game. It's going to be a battle to who wins out in terms of the team fights, the scaling, the early game. They could end up going in a different direction, but from how they've sort of played this out, that's what I expect.
Okay, so just a quick update. Everything has finally been settled. The dust is down. The dust has actually settled, as Dusty are going to be able to, just going to be given the game. That was a forfeit, unfortunately, by Hybrid, so there won't be any off-stream rematches or anything like that. It is a Dusty win, so they are now 3 and 3 in the standings, and unfortunately, Hybrid are 2 and 4. Situation was out of our hands, but now we know who one of these teams is going to be tying into. So Orlando or Hillerod are going to be tying with Dusty at the end of today, going into week 4. So yeah, I'm pretty excited just to get into this next game and get kind of moving and seeing what picks and bans are going to be looking like. We'll have a little bit longer before we get going into this 4th game, purely because we just got to get everything set up. Normally we do that in the break, but unfortunately there wasn't time in the break. So we have a little bit more time to have a bit of a chat. Clash is coming on the weekend. Are you going to be taking part?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't have a team at the moment, and I have a feeling I'm going to get asked by you, and I'm dreading it.
No, don't worry. I'm flying out, mate. I'm
going
to be way too shattered.
Thank you, then. Nice.
Mate, if I was on a Clash team with you, we would get destroyed because you have me.
Yeah, that's the standard.
Yeah. It would be so one-sided, dude.
Yeah. So please.
I think my regular bros are all away as well. So I think because it's the Saturday and the Sunday this week. Have you played any Clash? How do you place?
I think I played the first one, and then we got stomped. I haven't played again. But that team was like really just a ragtag team. I don't know. It's like I'd want to. The problem is a lot of my friends who are good are like still playing competitively.
Yeah.
And so when they want to have like a team, they're like, right, let's squad up. Like everyone's challenger, they're smashing their opponents, and I'm like, can I play? Is basically. But no, I think it's one of those things where maybe if I found a team about my level, I'd look for it. But it's normally very polarized. You have like the high-low still players, and then you have like the silver players like Jake. So there's no real in between.
Last season.
Wow.
I know, but silver sounds so much worse. I just had rough placements, dude. I played with Dagda, who's one of the LPL casters in the first one. And we had that bug where we got to champ select and nothing happened for 40 minutes. And then it just closed.
Nice.
That was a feels bad. And then the other one I played with John Allen.
Sounds like you didn't play Clash. You played Crash.
I did play Crash. Then I played with John Allen, who PUBG mobile caster, and Jaws, Overwatch caster. Jaws is an incredible Overwatch player. Not so much a League player, same for John.
You're just name dropping here.
I am just name dropping.
Yeah, so
I just play with casters.
My first Clash, we had in the mid lane, we had Barack Obama.
We had The Rock in the top lane playing Malphite, obviously.
In the jungle, we had Beyonce.
Of course, Queen.
I played support, and then my AD carry was actually
Steve Irwin.
Yeah.
He came back from the grave.
Yeah. That was my Clash team. Those are people I all know well.
Yeah, really good friends.
Yeah, really good friends.
Actually...
Oh, wait, is that... Hello? Is that Dwayne The Rock Johnson? Yeah, sorry, I'm just on broadcast now. Yeah, I'm great. I'll have to speak to you later. Thank you. Nice to speak to you, Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
I've actually seen him in person.
Oh, what? You've seen my best friend, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, in person. That's amazing to me. Wow.
He's huge.
I did not know that.
I was in Trafalgar Square. Yeah, Leicester Square in London, and there was a red carpet event for that skyscraper film he does. And he releases a film like every other week, so it's quite hard to keep track of what film he's on. And like there was like a sea of people all like, "Hey, Dwayne The Rock Johnson," and you just see him like hulking over everyone.
Wow. So Dwayne The Rock Johnson, former wrestler, who's
an actor,
ripped and huge and looks that way in every movie, is actually that way in real life.
No, it's not like SpongeBob where it's all air and he's inflated.
Wow, I am shocked.
But the key point of the story is he saw me across Leicester Square, pointed at me and said, "Hip Rain, how's it going, bro?" I was like, "Sup, mate? How's the film?" And he's like, "Yeah, 5-star reviews." And then he just went in, had his popcorn.
Okay, yeah. You're just taking it too far. You're just taking it way too far. As you killed it. It's dead. It's as dead as last game.
We get to game. We've got half of Hillerod in there in the lobby.
Yeah, they're probably in the middle of their dinner, and they're just like, "Guys, you got to play." I'm like, "I'm finishing my food."
I mean, it's quite late.
True.
Dinner. That's actually, you meant to eat dinner earlier.
I have to eat dinner this late because I get back from casting, and I'm like, okay. I guess.
Oh yeah, we had dinner at like 12 o'clock last night.
Yeah, exactly.
Although my dinner was a bowl of Cocoa Pops because I was being really lazy.
Well done.
You did some bolognese.
Yeah, that was good.
You had a nice, healthy 2 massive bowls of bolognese. He was like, "I'm going to have this tomorrow." And his girlfriend was like, "No, you're not. We're eating together tomorrow." And he's like, "Well, I'm having another bowl now."
Well,
then.
the problem was, right, I was like, I'll save some for tomorrow. And then my first bowl I ended up taking too much. And I was like, that's not really enough for tomorrow, so I'll just have it now. I have a problem.
It was massive. It was actually a giant bowl, dude.
I have a problem. But at least I had vegetables in, so, you know,
yeah.
that counts for something.
It was you eating 2 bowls of bolognese was better than me eating a bowl of Cocoa Pops.
I think it tells from our builds.
By the way, I don't normally have cereal for breakfast.
I think it tells from our builds what we're describing that we ate. Is all I'm going to say.
I had been awake for like 19 hours yesterday, and I just wanted to eat and go to bed. I ended up staying chatting to you all night.
Eat for 19 hours. Wow.
No.
Yeah, that's a long time.
No, but I wanted to eat something before
intermittent fasting? Is that what you were going for?
No, it's probably quite good actually. I think Scoundrel does it.
Yes, it does. I don't know if he still does.
Yeah, I think he just still does.
Maybe.
You stayed with him last week. Was he intermittent fasting?
I couldn't tell.
While he was clogging the toilets and using my bath towels to do the washing up.
Oh God, you can make a sitcom out of it, really. Yeah, that was an interesting one.
I mean,
some context. So basically, Jake...
He's an animal for the context. That is the context.
Okay, so what happened was Jake left and finished using his towels and was like, okay, well, I'm just going to dump them on the counter in the kitchen.
No, because you said you were doing a washing load. And I went, hey, if possible, could you put these
I mean, I said I was going to at some point do washing. It's not like I'm doing washing now, Jake. Give me your towels. But anyway, so he put them on the counter. And we had tea towels, right?
Yeah.
And then Alexandro clearly either didn't see them or saw them and overlooked them and grabbed the towels that Jake had used. And then I'm not sure. I think he was like, was he scrubbing dishes or was he picking them up? I don't know, but
there's food
there was
all over
food
him.
stains all over them. And I'm like, man, Jake's You know, Jake's body is touched these. And you're using them in the kitchen. That's not how.
I mean,
that's not
like, there's
hygienic.
literally going to be bowls that now, by kind of transfer of touch, have now touched my bum. So
How vigorous are you with your cleaning after the shower? You're like,
I dry myself off like a normal person.
yeah, I know, but I'm like, oh, too much information. Too much information.
Scoundrel's a dad, by the way. He's a married man, and he can't He didn't even make the bed. At least, like, I made the bed before leaving. I didn't strip it.
To be fair, because I had to change the bedding before he came, and like, I didn't exactly like make it. I mean, I made it, but it wasn't like.
Well, you
neat.
made the bed for him. I suppose he got delayed. Yeah, he did get delayed.
Well, I changed the bedding as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't do it to you because you know.
No, that's fine. I wasn't delayed by like
No.
10 hours like he was.
Yeah, and he basically was like, "Oh, I'm so tired. I'm just gonna go straight to bed." You change the bed, and I'm like, I guess, because I'm a good friend.
What was it like living with Scoundrel?
Yeah, it's
I already
pretty
know I'm tidier. You've already told me that.
fun. Yeah,
But I mean, it's really hard not to be tidier than that.
he's less noisy. Sometimes, like, he'll wake up and he'll go to the computer, and I won't even know. I won't hear it. Whereas I know you're on the computer because you're like, "Oh, my teammates, oh, my ball lane."
My bot lane were pretty bad today.
I mean, you're playing in silver. Everyone's really bad.
Yeah, to be fair, I'm feeling it right now. I am feeling it right
You're
now.
feeling silver.
Yeah, I actually am.
Yeah, well, that's understandable.
It's
I remember-
probably the worst I've played.
I looked
in a
at your
long
LeBlanc
time.
game because you were fuming, and I was like, he was like,
No, my LeBlanc game was fine.
there was a game you were like,
Actually, I played 3
it
LeBlanc
was
games today.
33 minutes, right? And he had 140 CS.
I was roaming.
This supports Rome. You're a mid laner. You got to farm, man. And I
I
remember,
had like 21 kills, to be fair. I was
not
like,
in that game. You had 7 in that game.
no.
And I was watching
my
that
bot lane
one.
were carrying me that game.
I
That
was-
was the good bot lane
I was
game.
watching that one, and like mid-wave is coming up, and the enemy team's trying to push in a Baron. And
But
I'm
we
like,
won the team fight. Before
wait,
you
I'm
say
like-
a word,
I'm like-
he goes, mid-prio is key here. My team
I'm like-
engaged because you're not
I'm
used
like,
to silver.
common sense is you shove the mid-wave and then rotate over, apply so much pressure, and he's just like, mid-wave, not interested.
I
runs-
wasn't interested, no.
runs straight over.
I'm just saying, man. You're used to high elo
yeah,
games where
here's-
people think about that stuff.
here's
In
this
silver,
important
they don't
tool.
care about mid-prio. They don't care about prio.
It's
They
this
just go.
important tool. You press control and you click, and you can drag, and you can do warning pings, and you say to your team,
They don't listen.
hold off a second.
That's across all solo queue. People don't listen. They just go in.
I mean, that's not true.
Okay, well, in my games, they just go
I
in.
mean, you say that's true across all elos, right? All solo queue. So this is Jake. Peak, what's your peak?
Gold 2.
Gold 2. Peak gold 2. And he's going to make the statement that this is consistent across
I
all solo queue.
speak to enough people to know that it seems to be consistent across all games.
Are you
Not
gonna- are you
everyone
gonna
is
ni-
blessed
are you
like
gonna-
you in
are you
your
gonna-
solo queue where you have the perfect teammates
you
who
gonna-
listen to you get the forced shot calling awards every time you leave the game because you know the game state so perfectly.
Are you going to name
and
drop?
everybody listens
Are you
to
going to name
you.
drop your high-low friends like Dwayne the Rock Johnson?
Yeah, Dwayne the Rock Johnson.
Yeah, I was talking
told
to him
me
the other day.
in Challenger, he got made it to number 2 in Challenger, and he said nobody listens to me in ranked.
Number
Jake.
2, playing Malphite, of course.
Yeah, playing Malphite, of course. He would have made it to number 1, but Magic Felix had 10 of the spots in top 5. So
I seriously hope everyone is tuned out and just muted. I pity anyone who has to listen to this.
if you do enjoy listening to it, why?
I thought you were gonna say something like tweet at me or we'll set up a podcast, and you're just like, why?
I mean, like, please, I'd love to do a podcast. No one would listen though. No one cares what we think about.
I actually really would like if we just like we set up a podcast, have the mics going, all that,
Yeah.
release them every week, and it's just you and no one listens, and all those thoughts. It's essentially like throwing them in the bin.
That's why I don't have a podcast because effectively I might as well just talk at a blank wall. I don't get any response anyway.
I wish you talked to the blank wall sometimes.
We're going to go to a break. Teams aren't quite ready yet.
Yeah.
I hate you, Orcs. See you in a second.